evening and welcome to Primetime News, coming to you live and direct from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. I'm Bernadine Jayasinghe. Let's now take a look at headlines.
Parliament to be prorogued with effect from midnight. New parliamentary session on the 8th of February. Cabinet has agreed to implement the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. President tells the all-party conference. Mahasangha announced its position on the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. Cost per voter increased by another 5 rupees. Human Rights Commission goes to court, stating the CEB had violated the agreement. Minister Kanchana says his officials were pressurized to sign documents. Professionals take to the streets against the government's tax policy. Mother and 2 children killed in house fire in Anuradhapura. Father sustains burn injuries and admitted to hospital.
Sri Lanka's president has decided to prorogue Parliament with effect from midnight on Friday. The respective gazette was issued later in the evening.
The Sri Lankan Parliament that will be prorogued from midnight on Friday the 27th will meet again for the new session at 10 a.m. on the 8th of February 2023. During the prorogation, the Speaker continues to function and the members retain their membership even though they do not attend meetings of Parliament. The effect of a prorogation is to suspend all current business before the House and all proceedings pending at the time are quashed except impeachments. At the beginning of a new session, all items of business which were in the order paper of Parliament need to be relisted if it is desired to continue with them. All the committees for special purposes ceases to function during the prorogation of Parliament and all of them have to be reconstituted and the commencement of each session except the Committee on High Posts, Sectoral Oversight Committees and Select Committees of Parliament as per provisions of Standing Order of Parliament. Accordingly, the following committees have to be reconstituted: the Committee on Parliamentary Business, the Committee on Standing Orders, the House Committee, the Committee on Ethics and Privileges, the Legislative Standing Committee, the Ministerial Consultative Committees, the Committee on Public Accounts, the Committee on Public Enterprises, the Committee on Public Finance, the Committee on Public Petitions, and the Backbencher Committee. Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe addressing the all-party conference on Thursday had noted that the program to implement the 13th Amendment to the Constitution will be presented on the 8th of February 2023. The President has said that he has the responsibility to implement the 13th Amendment and if not, it will have to be abolished via the 22nd Amendment to the Constitution.
මම එකක් කියන්නේ මම විධායකයෙක් මට තියෙන්නේ නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න 13 වෙනි
It is my responsibility as the executive to carry out the current law. For approximately 37 years, the 13th Amendment has been a part of the Constitution. I must implement or someone has to abolish it by way of a 22nd Amendment to the Constitution by moving a private member's bill. There is no point in reprimanding me. We need to implement it. We will not allow to divide the country. We are a unitary state. I oppose a federal state and not the devolution of power. The provincial councils in Sri Lanka do not at least have the powers that are vested in the London City Council. A massive extension of land was under the government by the time the conflict came to an end. There is only a land extension of 2,500 to 3,000 acres under the government as of now. The release of that extension land too should be entrusted with the security forces to be done without causing interruption to the security activities. We must discuss the release of those lands with the security forces and act upon their views. The Land Commission needs to be established immediately. The draft bill could be moved by March. The Constitution has it that 9 representatives from each province should be included while 11 are appointed by the President. Then a national land policy should be formulated. Thereafter, the national land policy could be put into action by the Land Commission. If the establishment of the National Police Commission instead of a Provincial Police Commission is objected, an amendment should be made. However, either should be done. The measures that would be taken in this regard would be presented to the Parliament on February 8th. And if there are any suggestions, they could be made so before February 4th that they may be considered and submitted on February 8th. You can present your proposals.
නාද කියලා 4 වෙනිදා 8 වෙනිදා වෙනකොට පාර්ලිමේන්තු ඉදිරිපත් කරන්න. ඔබ සියලු දෙනාම මට ඔබේ යෝජනා තියෙනවා නම් දැන් දෙන්න.
Parliamentarian Govinda Kumaratunga opposed the implementation of certain powers included in the 13th Amendment to the Constitution.
President, you have no mandate to deliver the land and police powers. The attempts made by your government in 2015 were defeated by the people. You are appointed for the mandate received by Gotabaya Rajapaksa. You can secure a new mandate by contesting the next presidential election. The Prime Minister is here. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa is here. The people never gave you a mandate to deliver the land and police powers.
ඔබතුමාලට දුන්න ජනවරම කිසිසේත්ම මේ ඉඩම් බලතල පොලිස් බලතල ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න දුන්න ජනවරමක් නෙවෙයි.
ඔබතුමාට ව්‍යවස්ථාව ගැන හරි වැටහීමක් නැහැ.
You have not understood the constitution. I am the executive. When I was appointed, those who voted for Sajith and those who voted for Gotabaya did the same. There is a mandate on both sides. Individuals from both sides voted for me. The TNA voted for me. Then you will have to ask whether the TNA has a mandate. The President is the executive. I cannot pass legislation. Legislation is passed by the Parliament. All I can do is discuss with the Cabinet and put forward legislation. Thereafter the Parliament will decide whether or not it would be passed. My job is to present it to the Parliament. You can vote as you please, as per your mandate. Do not speak about my mandate. You are just like me. You entered Parliament from the list. So what is wrong here? At least the Parliament may be the President.
When I was the President, 95% of the lands on which military camps were set up and belonged to the Ministry of Defence were released. Only 5% remained. I do not see any issue with introducing a National Land Commission. The President appoints the National Land Commission, so one can see if it goes beyond its mandate and whether there will be a division in the country. If we can allow for the Provincial Land Registry to release lands, what is the issue in doing the same for the North?
අපේ පළාත්වල මේ අනිත් පළාත්වල ඉඩම් කච්චේරියක් තියලා ඉඩම් දෙන්න පුළුවන් නම් ඉතින් උතුරේ දුන්නා මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ මොකද්ද ඒකේ ප්‍රශ්නේ මම කියන්නේ මේක වහාම ක්‍රියා
Implement the 13th Amendment to the Constitution immediately. The Aragalaya eradicated racism from this country. People started to think fresh.
මිනිස්සු අලුතෙන් නැවත හිතන්න පටන් ගත්තා මේ රටේ.
ඉඩම් බලතල දීම
We do not oppose the provision of land powers. However, we stress the importance of a land commission for that purpose.
වැදගත්කම. ප්‍රොසීඩියර්ස් වලට යන්න අවශ්‍ය නැහැ ජනාධිපතිතුමා. මොකද දැන් එක එක්කෙනා
There's no need for procedure. Various views will be expressed. You were given the power of the political parties in Parliament. I assume that only MP Govinda Kumaratunga opposes this. All those in the opposition support this. Do not listen to what all these people have to say. If you do so, it will be the end for us and the country.
මේක මේ එක එක්කෙනා කියන ඒවා අහන්න යන්න එපා. ඔබතුමා අහන්න ගියොත් මේ රටත් ඉවරයි. අපිත් ඉවරයි.
Venerable Induragare Dhammaratana Thero expressed strong objection to the execution of the 13th Amendment when former President Mahinda Rajapaksa visited the Abhayarama temple in Narayanpeta to attend an event to mark the 80th birthday of Venerable Muruttettuwe Ananda Thero.
අපේ තාත්තා රට අපේ අම්මා දුරු ආමුදුරු ඒක හින්දා හැම තැනම හැමදාම කිව්වා වගේ සම්බුද්ධ ශාසනය කසාය නම් මේක විතරයි එකම මුට්ටිය මේක විතරයි මේ රට විතරයි එකම මුට්ටිය.
If Buddhism is a medical drink, this country is the only pot that could hold it. If they split this country into two parts, if they fully enforce the 13th Amendment and give land and police powers, we as the clergy are ready to stand against it even tomorrow. Hence, if they discuss about the 13th Amendment, if they say that is politics, we can pass it as an attempt to protect our country. It is something we have inherited. When the clergy are wearing the robe that Lord Buddha has preached about, when wearing this garment, our first responsibility is to protect Lord Buddha. Sri Lanka is the only country which has conserved Lord Buddha's teachings and has Buddhism in it. If someone attempts to split our country into parts, we are going to stand strongly against it. Nothing good will happen through this. The Mahanayaka Theros, in a letter to the President, have stressed that it is wise to continue having military installations close to the temples located in the north and east of the country. The letter further notes that military personnel who have been assigned for the security and development of the Buddhist temples with significant importance in the north, east and other parts of the country should be assigned to those temples based on the requirements.
Parliamentarian Vimal Veeravansa expressed his opinion on the 13th Amendment to the Constitution at a conference held in Colombo.
The full implementation of the 13th Amendment means that the land powers would go to the Provincial Land Commission. Wildlife and all related subjects will also fall under that commission. Another outcome of fully enforcing the 13th Amendment is the formation of a provincial police. Also, the governor will be able to appoint whoever he wishes to the post of Chief Minister. Ranil Wickremesinghe does not have a right or responsibility to fully enforce the 13th Amendment. He does not have such a mandate. He represents the 2.5 years of Gotabaya Rajapaksa's mandate.
A protest against the government's tax regime took place opposite the Ceylon petroleum storage terminals in Kolonna.
Even Lord Buddha has preached that when taxes are imposed, those taxes should not be a burden. However, Ranil Wickremesinghe, who often speaks of the Lichavi kingdom, is burdening the people with taxes. The CPC workers are against these unjust taxes. We would like to inform the government to impose a tax by leaving aside a salary for the working masses to survive on. We urge the President, Prime Minister and the government to immediately withdraw this tax implementation and amend. We as the working masses see this as an attempt to create a rift among the people and the working masses.
Employees attached to the Sapugaskanda oil refinery protested during their morning break, seeking an amendment to the unjust tax regime.
You must understand our pain. We are not trying to commit tax evasion. Are these taxes actually utilized for the welfare of the people? If the tax money is looted by fraud and corruption, what is the purpose of paying taxes? That is our concern. We are engaged in this struggle to allow the professionals to continue with their jobs.
The Nidahas Sevaka Sangamaya or the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation handed over a letter to the President's office citing their demand.
The government is attempting to burden the public and private sector employees with these taxes to cover up the cost of fraud and corruption in the country. We as a whole oppose the government's oppressive program.
15 professionals organisation, including university teachers, launched a black protest week demanding changes in the unjust tax regime. The lecturers of University of Ruhuna, who gathered opposite the Sanat Jayasuriya Stadium in Mathura, protested and reiterated that these taxes should be amended immediately.
This is not only an unfair tax policy but also a very lethargic one. Only the people who can be caught very easily have been caught by these taxes. There are so many people who do not pay taxes in this country. By implementing this concept, the country will undoubtedly have to face a huge economic downfall. This is just like the organic fertilizer policy. This is a campaign by the government to collect money to its account in order to get money from the IMF without any analysis. Because of this, not only the professionals are crushed, but it also directly affects the economy. Now a large number of people are working for professionals. What will happen to them through this? It will become impossible to hire them. This will shrink the economy, and that shrink will negatively affect all economic aspects. Because of this, there is no way for us to justify what the government is saying. The country will become unstable and dysfunctional. Later on, this effect will spread in all directions. This is an attempt to push the economy, the country and the entire nation into an abyss or towards an unstable state. That is why these professions have taken to the streets.
The question we have here is why they are trying to charge us for the money they have misused. By imposing this tax, is the government providing the citizens with relief? What is the relief the government is giving us? Are the prices of goods going to be reduced?
Doctors across the country have been continuously raising concerns of the government's failure to address the medicine shortage, though the government taxes the professionals in an unjust manner. The doctors at the Kurunegala Teaching Hospital obtained signatures for a public petition emphasizing these concerns today. Patients who visited the cancer treatment unit at the hospital extended their support.
I came twice to get treatment for my sister. Last time it cost me 64,000 rupees to buy these medicine. They informed me that they don't have some medicines that were prescribed to my sister. We are doing everything we can to keep her alive. We can't just let her die.
If one day the free health system of this country falls apart, this government should be held responsible for it. They can't provide medicines to patients and they can't even supply electricity for our children to study. They don't even have funds to hold an election or to buy papers to print the national identity card. Despite all these shortcomings, they are now preparing to spend 200 to 300 million to celebrate the Independence Day.
In solidarity with the Black Protest Week, the staff of the Badulla General Hospital reported to work today wearing black bands. Signatures were also obtained for a public petition.
The maximum they can collect by taxing the professionals will be 7 to 9 billion rupees. But in Sri Lanka, there are tax thieves who don't pay taxes. They cheated around 700 billion rupees. A report published by the Auditor General's Department states that 54% of this amount were direct taxes. Without collecting this, they are taxing the professionals of this country who work tirelessly. This tax policy needs to change. We are working on creating a force to stand against this injustice.
A retired Sri Lankan doctor protested alone opposite the Matara General Hospital over the shortage of medicine.
This is the list of medicines that are not available. These essential medicines are not available. However, around 30 million is spent on a worthless charade. Who are they trying to deceive? The world is laughing at us. This is just some self-enjoyment for some who want to see old tanks. I urge Ranil Rajapaksa to end this.
News First with the people.
You're watching Primetime News. Let's now cross over to a short commercial break.
News First. Main sponsor.
Durden's Hospital. Dedicated to you. Experience the best in healthcare at Durden's Hospital's new Alfred Place wing. We continue to evolve into a purpose-built hospital of the future, with an ambience built to deliver world-class care. Durden's Hospital, dedicated to you.
Welcome back to the news. The Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka has filed a case with the Supreme Court over the failure to implement the agreement reached to ensure a continuous electricity supply until the 17th of February for the convenience of the advanced level students. The Secretary to the Ministry of Power and Energy, the Chairman of the Ceylon Electricity Board were named as the respondents.
The Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka in a statement said the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka, Ceylon Electricity Board and the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation reached an agreement to ensure a continuous supply of electricity from the 26th of January to the 17th of February 2023. It was issued as a mediation directive and the relevant stakeholders were expected to act on it before 4 p.m. on the 26th of January. Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka moved to the Supreme Court against disregarding and disrespecting the authority of the Commission by way of failing to implement the directive and for failing to respond to the Commission.
That directive was violated and the Human Rights Commission can report this to the Supreme Court on the basis that a directive was disregarded. We will act on that today. If not, there is no use in having a Human Rights Commission if these directives cannot be respected. If they cannot fulfill this promise, that is something separate. However, they agreed to our directive. Now they say that they did not agree to such a thing.
Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara tweeted his response to these developments. Minister Kanchana Wijesekara said that the officials from the Ministry of Power and Energy who attended a recent meeting with the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka had disclosed that they were pressurized to sign 2 documents that they did not agree to. The minister tweeted, that the officials were pressurized by 2 members of the Human Rights Commission and that they were threatened with jail sentences. However, Minister Kanchana Wijesekara tweeted that the officials of the Ministry of Power and Energy have already consulted legal opinions on the steps to be taken against the Human Rights Commission members and have submitted a writing on the events that had taken place. The minister said he informed the President of these developments on Thursday and will inform the Constitutional Council in writing as well. At the same time, in a letter to the Human Rights Commission of Sri Lanka, Managing Director of the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation said that he received information claiming that the matters presented by the CPC officials who attended the meeting were not given any consideration. In the letter, he alleged that the request made by CPC officials to refrain from reaching any agreement without consulting the CPC senior management was not respected and approval was obtained to an ex parte view alone.
We summoned the chairman of the Ceylon Electricity Board and the ministry secretary. However, the additional secretary represented the secretary with all powers. The failure of the secretary to appear can be termed as dereliction of duty. The chairman should have been there as well. However, a deputy general manager and 2 other engineers were present. 2 officials from the Ceylon Petroleum were also summoned, especially the finance minister. The CPC agreed to deliver furnace oil and naphtha if they make the payment within 45 days. The CPC said that they are in possession of around 33,000 metric tons of naphtha. The CPC agreed to deliver 24,000 metric tons of naphtha to the CEB for the requirement from the 24th of January to the 17th of February. Thereafter, all the parties signed an agreement. The Deputy General Manager who represented the chairman signed it. The chairman cannot say that he is not responsible and that someone else appeared for the meeting. These chairmen cannot act in such an irresponsible manner.
Sri Lanka's Human Rights Commission has received a letter bearing a signature of the Managing Director of the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation stating that difficulties in providing fuel to ensure a continuous supply of electricity during the period of the advanced level examination. It added that given the existing financial constraints, the CPC had delivered to the CEB fuel worth of 111 billion rupees. It also noted that the CEB is short of funds to procure the fuel as it has not been able to generate the expected revenue due to the absence of a cost-reflecting pricing mechanism. He pointed out that providing a continuous supply of electricity given the current situation could lead to an electricity and fuel crisis in the country. The Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka on Friday ordered the Ceylon Electricity Board to ensure a continuous supply of electricity until the 17th of February 2023. The chairman of the PUCSL had issued the order to the Additional General Manager of Transmissions at the CEB. He had also informed the CEB not to direct the power outage timetable from 26 January to 17 February to the Commission's approval.
Right now in Sri Lanka, authorities have failed to provide a continuous supply of electricity to support the students sitting for the advanced level examination. Instead, they are pointing fingers at others. Yet there's a student generation that achieved great results, brushing aside all obstacles. This is Shenitha Nettinu Pereira from Christ King College in Pannipitiya, who scored 198 marks at the Grade 5 scholarship examination. Hailing from Diyagama, he is the eldest among 2 siblings. Shenitha Nettunu Pereira returned to school for the first time on Friday after his remarkable achievement that made everyone proud of him.
He was always enjoying his extra activities like badminton, tennis, chess, music and so on. He did not have any pressure to sit for the exam. I urge other parents not to confine their children. Help plan your child since the early stages. Once they get used to it, they will not go astray and they will not waste their time.
Here's Shenitha's goal.
වෛද්‍යවරයෙක් වෙලා තවමත් ඖෂධ සොයාගෙන නැති රෝගවලට ඖෂධ සොයාගෙන මුළු ලෝකෙම ඉන්න අසවන රෝගීන්ව සුවපත් කරන එක තමයි මගේ අනාගත බලාපොරොත්තුව.
Children represent the future of the country. Is it not the responsibility of everyone to do what we must today to ensure they have a better tomorrow?
Sri Lanka's election headquarters.
A group of parents staged a silent protest opposite the Lyceum International Schools in Wattala and Nugegoda today.
The group of parents protested opposite the Lyceum International Schools in Vattala and Nugegoda over the failure of the schools to take necessary measures to enable their children to apply for the Cambridge Ordinary Level and Advanced Level examinations.
After our children spent 10 years preparing for the Cambridge examinations, the school let us down at the last moment and informed us that the students can only apply for the Cambridge examinations as private candidates and not as students of the school. When we asked why, they didn't offer any explanation, which means when Cambridge issues the exam results, our children will look like they don't have a school. The top management of Lyceum should come forward and provide us with a proper explanation for this injustice.
Newsfirst attempted to contact the school administration over the matter, however our inquiries went unanswered.
The Speaker endorsed a certificate on 2 bills that were passed in Parliament recently.
Sri Lanka's Parliament Speaker has endorsed the certificate on the Regulation of Election Expenditure Bill and the Bureau of Rehabilitation Bill, which were debated and passed in Parliament recently. Accordingly, these bills come into force as the Bureau of Rehabilitation Act No. 2 of 2023 and the Regulation of Election Expenditure Act No. 3 of 2023. The National Election Commission has decided to increase the amount that a candidate can spend on a voter to 20 rupees as per the provisions of the Regulation of Election Expenditure Act.
A decision was taken that 20 rupees will be allowed to be spent per voter, and we have now gazetted that decision. Then, if it is 20 rupees for one voter, if there are 1,000 in that block, then if 20 multiplied by 1,000 is 20,000. That is the maximum amount that can be spent.
The chairman also expressed his opinion regarding the media reports that a member of the Election Commission has resigned.
The Commission still does not know that a member has resigned. We only know about the report filed by the media because those members have not informed us, or the authority has not informed us that this member has given the letter of resignation. In any case, even if the member has resigned, it will not interfere with our Commission's activities. The other thing is that the other commissioners are now firm, and we are confident that no one will end up in such a situation.
The National Election Commission told Newsfirst that the relevant documentation to print the ballot paper for the 2023 local government election was directed to the government printer. Government printer Ganga Kalpini Liyanage told Newsfirst that the district level ballot papers are currently being printed. Political parties have launched their election campaigns, and opposition leader Sadit Premadasa addressed a gathering in Dehiyattakandiya on Friday. The opposition leader said that he intends to introduce a code of ethics for the SJB candidates who will be elected following the local government election.
I didn't come here to Dehiyattakandiya today to give any false hopes like other politicians. I came here today to give you the assurance that Premadasa Jr. is ready to take up the baton to develop this area. We will introduce a code of ethics to our local government council members, and they will be legally bound to follow this, and they have already signed these agreements. We will remove any member who violated the law of this country. Our members are banned from getting any contracts or getting involved with any rock and sand related activities. We will create a council full of workaholics.
Sri Lanka's Public Security Minister Tiran Alas emphasized that if drug trafficking continues, it will have to be eradicated by any means necessary.
The head of institutions that come under the purview of the Ministry of Public Security were present for a briefing with the minister.
All necessary measures are being taken to crack down on drugs. This is my message to the drug traffickers. Stop this now. If you don't, we will end it by any means necessary. We have witnessed the underworld carrying out shootings using motorcycles. We will implement a program to end that as well. I personally believe that the death penalty must be imposed on those convicted of drug trafficking, rape and murder. We urge the people to provide us with information, and you can do so by calling the hotline 118.
සාප්තේ ඝාතනය සම්බන්ධයෙන් ඒකෙන් තාමත් ඒ වාගෙන්ද මිනිමරුමත් ඒක සොයදී යානගර ගැනීමක්ද කියලා.
The investigation is almost over, but at this time I cannot say whether it is a murder or a suicide, but within 2 months we will let the media know about it.
අපි මාධ්‍යයටයි සියලු දෙනාටම ඒක ගැන දන්වන්නම්.
දැන් ළඟදී දැන් පුපුරුණු ද්‍රව්‍ය සොයා ගැනීම මෙහෙම වැඩි මොකෝ දන්නේ මේ සම්බන්ධයෙන්.
ඒ ඔබතුමා හිතනවාද පුපුරුණු ද්‍රව්‍ය දාලා මේ හොයාගන්නවා කියලා? නෑ. මේ පොලිසියේ මමත් ඉන්නකන් එවැනි දේවල්.
Are you assuming that you are coming across the explosives? As long as the police and I are there will be no such thing. The IGP will also not engage in those acts. Explosives were found twice, including last night. During the period of the Aragale, the police only had to work on the Aragale. Since there is no Aragale anymore, the police can engage in other duties. What was the Aragale? When the police were pulled in to suppress the Aragale, nothing else happened.
මඩ පවත්තන් ඒවට ඇදලා ගත්තාම උනේ කිසිම වැඩක් වුණේ නැහැ කාලේ.
A woman and her 2 children died after their house in Alayapattu, Anuradhapura caught fire on Thursday night.
The house located in Mahamankadawala, Alayapattu had caught fire at approximately 11 p.m. on Thursday night. According to police, a family of 4 lived in the house. The woman and her 2 children were sleeping in one room and the woman's husband was sleeping in another room.
මම දුවත් එක කතා කරගෙන ගියේ කෝල් එකේ. එයා ඉන්නේ රට. මම කතා කරලා ඉවරනකොට 11:40යි. බිම්බලගෙන කතා කරේ. උත්තර මම දැක්ක ගින්දර. එළියට තිබුණේ නැහැ කරෝල් ලයිට් නිවලානේ. මම ඊට පස්සේ කෑ ගැහුවා අනේ සාන්තලා ගෙට ගිනි ගන්නවා එන්න කියලා මම ඉතින් කෑ ගැහුවා ඔක්කොටම ගිහිල්ලා. එතකොට තමයි කට්ටියම ඉතින් ආවේ වටේට. අනිකන් අර පෙට්‍රෝල් දානකොට ගිනි ගන්න යන්නේ ඒ වගේ.
Police spokesperson SSP Nihal Talduwa said that the woman's husband had made attempts to rescue his family. However, he was injured by the inferno. The deceased woman was 33-year-old Nishanti Hemalata. Her 10-year-old daughter, who died in the fire, was a student of the Alayapattu National School who sat for the Grade 5 scholarship examination.
ඊයේ තමයි ප්‍රතිබලාවේ ළමයාගේ. ඒකට කැවුම් හිටන් ඉවගේ දරන. 25 උපන්දිනේ කියලා මම උදේම කතා කරලා මගේ පුතාට සුබ උපන්දිනයක් වේවා කියලා කියද්දි thank you ලොකු අම්මා කියලා මට කිව්වා. වෙන පුතේ. ඔයලා මට ඉන්න බෑනේ දෙයියනේ. මට ඉන්න බෑ.
The injured father was admitted to the Alayapattu hospital and was thereafter transferred to the Anuradhapura Teaching Hospital. The Judicial Medical Officer for Anuradhapura, Hirusha Eranda, visited the scene of the tragedy for an inspection. The magisterial inquest was conducted by Anuradhapura Acting Magistrate Chandana Veerakon. The cause of the fire is yet to be ascertained.
The Corporation Afloat Readiness and Training 2023 bilateral exercise successfully concluded in Sri Lanka.
The Cooperation Afloat Readiness and Training 2023 bilateral exercise was hosted by the US Pacific Fleet in partnership with the Sri Lanka Navy. The exercise was held in Colombo, Trincomalee and Malikulam from the 19th to the 25th of January. The closing ceremony of CARAT 2023 was held on board USS Anchorage at the pier side of the Colombo harbour under the auspices of the US Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Julie Chung, the Commander of the Navy, Vice Admiral Priyantha Pereira, and US 7th Fleet Vice Commander, Rear Admiral Joaquin J. Martinez D. Pinillo. CARAT Sri Lanka is a bilateral exercise between Sri Lanka and the US designed to promote regional security cooperation, maintain and strengthen maritime partnerships, enhance maritime interoperability and preserve a free and open Indo-Pacific region. The bilateral exercise was augmented by the Sri Lanka Navy, Sri Lanka Coast Guard and Sri Lanka Air Force. In addition, the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force and Maldives National Defense Force also attended as observing partners. SLN offshore patrol vessels SLNS Gajabahu and SLNS Vijayabahu met amphibious transport dock USS Anchorage, 13 Marine Expeditionary Unit at sea. Additional participating US assets included a P-8A Poseidon and personnel from US 7th Fleet, Commander Task Force 72, CTF 73, CTF 76/3, Destroyer Squadron and Amphibious Squadron 7. On successful completion of the Cooperation Afloat Readiness and Training 2023 exercise, USS Anchorage of the US Navy departed the island this morning. The Sri Lanka Navy bade customary farewell to the departing ship in compliance with naval traditions at the port of Colombo.
The 12th Annual Research Symposium 2022, organized by the National Building Research Organization, was held at BMICH in Colombo yesterday.
Outlook about the country.
Several dignitaries, including the Director General of NBRO, Dr. Asiri Karunawardana, Director of the Landslide Research and Risk Management Division of the NBRO, Dr. H.A.G. Jayatissa, and Professor Udeni Navagamua from the Department of Civil Engineering at the University of Moratuwa participated at the 12th Annual Research Symposium 2022. State Minister Pramita Bandara Tennakon was the chief guest, while Defence Secretary Retired General Kamal Gunaratne was the guest of honour.
Disaster management is an essential part of the sustainable development of a country that cannot be overlooked due to economic constraints. There is no doubt that reducing damages and losses from natural disasters, particularly from landslides, remains as one of the key collective challenges. Today, simply we are facing a crisis on top of a crisis. The COVID-19 pandemic, energy crisis, economic instability which we experienced in the very recent past turned our lives and economy upside down, where the recovery will require a long period of time. At such backdrop, I must highlight that it is commendable that the state research institutes such as NBRO have adapted to the challenges by making fundamental changes in their action plans, reshaping the Institute's technical landscapes and continuing to work towards achieving their mandated responsibilities.
The event was held under the theme Building Resilience Amidst Economic Challenges.
An event was held to welcome a dignitary from the Sri Satya Sai ashram in India earlier this week. Sri Vedanarayan, a Vedic scholar who arrived in Sri Lanka on a short visit, attended the event in Colombo.
Sri Vedanarayan, a Vedic scholar who had been in Sri Satya Sai Baba's fold for over 50 years, attended an event organized by the Sri Satya Sai Overseas Organization in Colombo. The Sri Satya Sai Overseas Organization is affiliated with the Sri Satya Sai Global Council. Sri Vedanarayan is the first dignitary from the Sri Satya Sai Global Council to have conducted programs in the north and east as well as in Colombo.
These human values we have to practice in our life. Ego is those small 3-letter word is ego. Oh my God, that can create havoc in our life. So we have to be very, very careful when we are practicing human values. Our mind is such that our mind start analyzing and analyzing and analyzing. Never allow your mind to analyze. Faith has no reason, Bhagavan says.
This was his first visit to Sri Lanka.
A memorandum of understanding was signed in Colombo between Sri Lanka and Qatar to propose tourism to the island nation.
We are targeting a lot more countries than the Middle East, and I'm sure this is just a foundation. When we say Middle East, all the Middle Eastern countries, and from that onwards, we want to target all of Europe, the untouched places in the world. There are so many untouched countries in the world that Sri Lanka hasn't been promoting their tourism. Also, talking about tourism, the northeast of this country needs to be developed. And that is one way of developing it is through tourism. There's so much of culture in the northeast as well. My dream is to see Sri Lanka. I know Lee Kuan, when he came in 1951, he saw Sri Lanka and he said, I would like to see Singapore like Sri Lanka. My dream today, I'm saying it all the time, is I would like to see Sri Lanka another Singapore. And that's my dream for Sri Lanka. So this first step we have kept. I look forward to having a very good relationship and a good business and a good tourist bond, and also generating a good income through tourism for Sri Lanka and for the people of Sri Lanka.
With that, we wrap up Primetime News. I'm Bernadine Jai Singha. Good night. Take care.